Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing wonderful. Welcome to the Early Career Podcast. This is your friend and host, Priyanka Mahankali. And today I'm actually going to discuss about something that is just very hard to digest and it's just a hard topic. But I did want to discuss and give you some pointers and some direction around how do you deal with it. So let's get into it. Layoffs. It's something that we're all seeing right now. Either we're experiencing it or we're watching other people experience it. And, it can be really challenging. It is really challenging. And I wanted to take this moment and share my own personal experience with it because, layoffs can really trigger a variety of emotions for different people, depending on, who you are as a person, what you're passionate about, what your upbringing was like, just so many factors, right? And it's hard to define how one person can take it versus how another will. And, no way is wrong, right? Like, you know, sometimes we hear people saying, oh, don't take it personal. But it is a personal thing, right? It is something where you work really hard to get this job. Maybe you spend years studying and then, you got this career. Maybe you were really attached to this company that maybe it was your first job at this company or your first job ever. So many reasons why a layoff can really trigger a variety of emotions. And I just, first of all, before we get into how do we navigate that, I just wanted to tell you that it's okay to feel bad about it. It's okay to take it personally. And, you know, when you take it personally, it just means that it's something you deeply cared about, right? And if you're passionate about something, if you're emotionally attached to something, you will feel a sense of loss and, a sense of your identity not existing anymore. And you might just feel this, this void, this emptiness. And I know this because I went through a layoff myself not too long ago, just about 3 months ago. And so I'm speaking from personal experience about how this journey can unfold. And, for me, I had, I mean, initially when I heard about the layoff, right? Like especially when you see that email where you see that sentence that's, that translates into something that sounds like you are no longer needed anymore, right? And when you, that's how you feel, that's how your brain or mind comprehends it, right? That, oh, wow, now I'm no longer needed, right? And of course, these decisions are made at a, macro level, but it's okay to take it personally. And when I when it happened to me, I, for the first 2 days, I was like, you know what? I'll just go to sleep and I'll just eat nice food and watch TV. And, I just slept for like 12 hours. I was just enjoying, and then eventually I knew at some point that I would have to feel my feelings, right? And there will be feelings about it. So I took the time to feel sad. And I told everyone in my family that, hey, this is just hard for me. So just, if I act weird or I'm weird, just deal with it or just don't take it seriously. If I say something, you can be non responsive and maybe you just want to be alone for a while. And people around you might think, why are you behaving this way, right? So you just want to let everyone know that, hey, I'm going through something. I'm okay and I will be okay, but I just need some time to kind of digest this news. So don't take anything I say badly, right? And that really helps. That's the piece of communication that helps in relationships with people to let them know that you're going through something so that they don't take what you say in a negative sense because they know what you're going through. So that's one thing. And then as it relates to just layoffs, these decisions are taken at such a macro level. I'm sure there are so many other factors that people at a higher level are having to consider to take such decisions. And again, I'm not siding on the side of the debate where we don't have to consider humanity or take humanity into account. Like that is also part of that is something that's a very different discussion. And I because there's a lot of discussions right now about, okay, if if companies are, going with layoffs, then how do they proceed with that? What is the mechanism that they use to do that? Are they just going to send like a quick email, or are they going to be more nicer about it and stuff? So if you look at it from a factual perspective, this has nothing to do with you. And the thing is, the reason I'm constantly iterating that over and over again is because when you go through a layoff, you think that maybe if I did something differently, oh, maybe if I did this other task, or maybe if I did worked on this other project or initiative, I wouldn't be chosen for the layoff. But that's not true at all, because the decisions that are being made are at such a high level about these layoffs that even they don't know who they're like they don't know the individuals and what they do to know who they're laying off, right? So even they don't know, right? So this can be comforting, because knowing this will also give you an understanding and assurance that it has nothing really to do with you. You can do everything. And that's the thing, right? Like, in the end, we're still human beings. We have a life. We can't always be our 100% best, right? So, but when you have a layoff, you think, oh, if I was my 100% best. No, but it's just unnatural to think that way, right? So accept that this has nothing to do with you. And because I don't want this to become part of your imposter syndrome or contribute to your maybe already existing imposter syndrome about, okay, I already suck at my job, or I'm going to suck at my job and I'm not going to get a job now, and all those things, right? Because that's what we think. Now we're like in the market and we think, oh, now who's going to give me a job, or I feel exposed. I don't know what to do. And, it's just a scary unknown, right, that you're in now. So I just want you to first take the time to accept and deal with your emotions around the layoff. If it's 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever that may be, like take the time. And, in that time, also in parallel, look at ways that you can create some routine around your day and have that routine be focused around your self care. Because, sometimes I would always think, imagine a life where, I wake up and I'm having, sipping green tea by the balcony and, for like half an hour, then reading a book. Those are all things we see in movies or TV shows or something, and then, or ads, right? And then we imagine that, oh, one day our life will be like that. But it never really is, because you wake up in the morning and you're just busy to get to work and stuff, right? But now, well, you can do some of those things that you thought you never would have the time to do. For example, when I would wake up, I would have my green tea, and the green tea box was lying there on the shelf for like probably 6 months, and I never got the time to use it even once. So when I got laid off, I was like, oh, you know what? Now I'm going to have my green tea in peace. I know this sounds funny and sounds trivial, but that is one moment I vividly remember. Maybe because that was one moment that I was trying to find peace and groundedness. Because if you're mentally disoriented and you're spiraling, you can't apply for interviews. And even if you do, and if you go for an interview, you're not going to be able to be your best self. You're not going to be able to be confident in real, right? So make sure that you work on your feelings aspect, and whether it's talking to someone. For me, it also really helped to accept my feelings by talking to some of my mentors and friends and telling them, hey, this happened. How should I take it? I actually ask people, how should I take it and what should I feel? Sometimes you don't even know what to feel. So I would ask them, just tell me what to feel. And I would also get their perspective on my skills and what they think of me. And, it was comforting to know that, okay, well, I don't suck, right? And that's fine. Sometimes you can look for comforting words from people that care about you, because it's important. Sometimes reinforcement of who we are is important. So find your friends, your mentors, your parents, siblings, whoever it is that you can talk and just feel lighter. I've heard that people feel vulnerable. I'm not someone who fundamentally feels vulnerable. I don't feel, I actually, or maybe I do feel vulnerable, but I use that as well as a skill or as a quality or as a trait. And I find a way to use that to my advantage. So maybe that's why I don't see vulnerability as a thing that I shy away from. But make sure that you don't associate this getting laid off with any sort of shame. Because there's no shame in getting laid off. Like, these are company decisions that are being made, has nothing to do with you. And you have to accept that. Like, please accept that there is nothing you can do different, right? And the fact that you have to go through your emotional roller coaster of emotions, and you have to come to a point where now you feel energized and motivated to some extent to start the application process for looking at jobs, right? So now that we have talked about just that initial 1 day, 1 week time period of what to do and how to process this layoff that's happening to you, the next thing you want to do is, well, now you have to apply for jobs, right? So what you need to do is you need to make a list of all your connections. So companies that where you have contacts, and also people where you have contacts, right? So make a list of all those entities, and then go to LinkedIn and then start reaching out to each of these individual people. And when you reach out to them, ask them for some time, let them know about your situation, and then ask them for some time to chat with you. Mostly people are nice and they will say, hey, yeah, I'm happy to chat. Send them a meeting invite and get on a call and get on video. Because when you're on video, it creates a stronger emotional footprint and a more vivid memory in the other person's mind of who you are and what you wanted. So get your video on, get on that call and chat with them. I remember I would have my calendar filled with meetings with people. Almost every day I would talk to at least one person. Some of them are a combination of my colleagues from the company that I was working at, and also some of the company heads or leaders or decision makers that I was talking to share with them that I'm open to opportunities and what kinds of opportunities I wanted to explore. This is another thing, right? Now that you're laid off, you can think about other kinds of roles you can explore. You can kind of broaden your horizon a little bit, because your horizon was narrow until the time that you were employed. But now your horizon is broadened because you have the time to explore, you have the time to think about what you actually like to do. Maybe what you were doing is what you like to do, and that's great. But a lot of times people don't like what they were doing, or maybe they want to upgrade. Maybe they want to get promoted to a higher level position, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into more of a strategic decision making role from the solutions architect role that I was in. So, and that's what I expressed to the companies that I had my connections at. And so, that is something I actively did. Not, I mean, mostly taking your resume and applying directly. It rarely, now I don't think that's the world we're living in anymore. Most of the times, like 90% of the times, opportunities come from referrals and LinkedIn posts where you even post saying, hey, I got laid off. This is what I'm looking for. People repost that and people comment, and it has broader reach and people try to help. A lot of people get opportunities for interviews like that, or common connections, acquaintances. What I did basically, right? I would basically try to revive my network that I had from my company that I was working at, and revive my network with my customers that I was working with. And that's how I got my next job 3 months later, because I tried to revive some of my network connections. And sometimes people may not be able to help you, and that's okay. Like, everyone's not going to be able to help you. And you also shouldn't sound selfish, like you only call them and you just ask them for that one thing that you need help with, and then you're done. That nobody wants to help someone who doesn't care about them. Like, genuinely do this only if you genuinely care about the other person. You want to talk to the other person and you also want help, right? So the genuineness has to be there. And so many times I've seen people, they are they're just trying to, like, they're so abrupt and they don't have any emotions around this, that when you don't have those emotions, then you're not able to create value in that conversation with someone else. You're not able to make the other person feel invested in you, because, like 99 out of 10 times, people want to feel important. Not in like a egoistic way, but like people just want to feel valued and they want to feel like they're adding meaning to your life. And so whenever I talk to people, and these are people that matter to me, I don't talk to people that don't matter to me or that I don't feel have some, something that I want to learn from. And I'm very clear with them saying, hey, you know what? This conversation really made my day. And it really does, because it really does. So sometimes I would just be waiting for that one meeting that I had set up. And then when I'd get on a call, I would express my excitement saying, hey, I'm so happy to talk to you. I've been waiting to talk to you all day today. And people don't say that part. And when you don't say that part, there's a huge missed opportunity, right? Because you're not actually expressing how you feel about talking to the other person. So these are the actual components that help create and foster strong networking connections. And this is also, it falls under, people who have high emotional intelligence. So have a heart, right? And this is the reason I told you in the beginning, feel your feelings, because when you start to feel your feelings, you also tend to start knowing what those feelings are, right? Because sometimes we don't know what we feel. Sometimes we feel disconnected from our own self, which is okay. But then you need to force yourself to have feelings sometimes, because then that's how you are, you feel alive and you feel human. And then that's how you use that humanness to create the most authentic of connections. And that's how people can truly feel invested in your growth, your journey, your success. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So now that being said, make those lists, make sure you have a goal of at least talking to one person every day or a meeting invite on video. That should be your goal, so that you can get, and then all the responses or action items, make sure that you write it down somewhere. This person, you spoke to them, this was the action item. This person, you spoke to them, that was the action item. And if there was something to follow up, please follow up with them, because that also creates a trust. Sometimes things take a long time. Sometimes you don't know how something can pan out. And again, this is the point of what I'm trying to say. Don't be selfish in reality. Be authentic and be genuine. And I know it can be hard to be genuine, especially when you have financial obligations, maybe kids who are going to school and other things that are going on in your life, and then you're laid off. So I get it. It can feel really overwhelming. But what I'm telling you is not just to help you in this one area of your life. It's to help you in every area, because if you are going to be this person, you're going to have deep, meaningful relationships with your partner, with your kids. So it's not just for your career, but it does add value to your career as well. So it's for you to be happy in all aspects of your life, right? And in the end, what are we looking for? Happiness, right? Our job is so that we can make money, so that we can be happy. That brings me to my next point, which is putting things into perspective and realizing that, yes, work is important. Trust me, I'm a very ambitious person, so I really care about the work I do, the technologies I build, and all of those things in the middle. But I have tried to now realize that I can, on one hand, feel like work is important. And I want to be a career woman. That's just the woman I am. And I want to be the CEO of some big company. Like, that's what I want to be. But at the same time, I can still balance those thoughts with, you know, realizing that happiness is in the smallest of things. Happiness is not about getting a job. Happiness is not about being the CEO of a company. Happiness is not about, so and so big achievement or being like some famous person, or someone who got like a lot of likes on a reel. We don't know who's behind the camera. Maybe someone really sad posted some reel to get some validation. We don't know, right? We don't know who's genuinely happy and who's not. So you'll always find in my content, I will always encourage you to find happiness in the smallest of things. So, and the way you can find happiness is by being grateful. So when you wake up during the layoff period, I want you to think about what are things you have around you. Just look around you and, change your perspective. Look at things from a very fresh lens, as though you were just born today, like, wait, am I living in this house? Wow, I can breathe. I have Amazon boxes coming today. I have the money to buy my favorite eyeshadow or video game, whatever that may be. We don't realize that these are things that other people don't even have the privilege and will never have the privilege in their entire lifetime to purchase, right? And we can find ways to be grateful in every aspect of our lives every day. And I'll challenge you on this. And that is how you can find a way to bring this gratefulness into your daily life so that you can find a sense of groundedness, because the gratefulness is going to make you grounded, it's going to keep you grounded, along with the fact that you have addressed your feelings about the layoff and that it was nothing personal and that it had nothing to do with you and that you are still awesome, right? You have to believe that you have a lot to offer and you are awesome. Now that you have all these things in the mix, you have a perfect recipe to have a great, confident interview where you can walk into this interview virtually or in person, whatever that may be. But you can walk into this interview with full confidence and talk in the way that you've never talked before. And this is not some motivational speech. I'm not trying to give you some motivational speech, right? This is real. Sometimes, I don't even have the skills that are needed for a certain job description. For example, I was trying to apply to product manager roles because product management is something I always wanted to do. And, I thought, oh, I'm a solutions architect. So how can I apply to product management roles? And this is the same thing that a lot of people have asked me, oh, how do I apply for a different role? You absolutely can. In my example, the solutions architect role and the product manager role, both of them require ownership, right? Strong ownership. If you have stories or projects where strong ownership was there, write it. You just need to change the story to now fit the role of a product manager, right? Look up, and now we have AI as well, right? So look up what does product manager need to know and do. Ask ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever. And then once you know the general duties, responsibilities, then look at your resume, and you can also put it through AI and ask ChatGPT to give you some suggestions around, how can it kind of tell a good story that aligns well with the desired role, right? So just look at the overlaps, and when you're actually in the interview, tell them that, I have strong ownership skills. And, this is one example. And I know in product management, you have to have strong ownership over the roadmap, over the strategy and the deadlines and the features, and about working backwards from the customer to gather strong feedback and all of that, right? And product management is a lot about deadlines because you have to meet certain feature requirements in a certain timeline, and you have to also create a certain kind of roadmap that fits into the overall product portfolio of sorts, right? So there's a lot of that, and that requires someone to have like a very strategic mind, but also like equally tactical mind in a lot of ways. So, as you frame this conversation, you can drive the interview in a way where it benefits you. And then, of course, every company is not going to like you, and that's okay too. You're going to have rejections. I had a lot of rejections where companies would either say, oh, you need more experience, or you need to have a certain kind of skill set that you don't have. All of that is okay. Like, it's valid. It's not like after this advice that I'm giving you, you're gonna, like, the next company you interview, you're gonna get it, right? But the key here is the confidence aspect, is the way you talk about things, right? The way you lead the interview. And there's actually a video that I've already created about how do you lead an interview. So you can go check that out after this, and that will give you all the specifics. I've talked about every single step from the time you say hello to this time you say bye. Every single step of the interview, and how do you actually lead the interview to the point where the interviewer starts thinking, wow, this seems like a really confident person, right? Because that's the kind of people they want. They want people who are opinionated, who love challenges, but also who are emotionally centered, grounded, and, have a heart in the end. Like, I love it, this might sound weird, but, like, I love my emotions. Like, I love all the emotions um that come out of me, whether it's sadness, anger, frustration, happiness, and because that's a part of me. Like, I like it because it's a part of me. And I like myself so much that I like all the emotions that come out of me. I know that sounds really narcissistic, but I mean it in a way where we always are very self-critical of our anger or our frustration or any negative emotion. And neither do we want to embrace happiness, right? So I try to remove any shame or guilt of being happy and also accept my anger and sadness by actually loving those emotions. That's my theory behind why I try to do that. Hopefully, this was a good video for you to understand how people generally feel and to let you know that you're not alone in feeling sad, in feeling depressed, in feeling like this shouldn't have happened to you, and all of those things. And the fact that things will be eventually okay. I also give you some strategies for how to apply to jobs through the lists I told you to make from companies and your colleagues. And also, how do you reach out to them? What do you talk about? How do you create a nurturing connection, which may not have a short term goal, but it may end up in something else later on? May or may not, and that's okay too. Hopefully, that was informative. And if there are any comments you have, if you want me to talk about something more specific about layoffs or anything else in general, please let me know. I'm happy to talk about it. But until then, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. Health is very important. We don't actively think about our health, but as time passes by, trust me, you will start thinking about it. So, health is very important, more important than money. So, take care of your health and find ways, pockets of little moments in your life where you feel grateful to be alive. Because in the end, it's all about that. And all of those things collectively will give you the confidence to apply an interview, and you won't be nervous. Trust me, you won't be nervous in your interview if you start to incorporate some of these things that I shared with you right now. One more thing I forgot to mention is during the interview, when they ask you your introduction, don't stammer about your layoff, right? Like a lot of people might either cover it or say or justify, by saying, oh, this happened because of this, it had nothing to do with me. Like it's funny because when you say that it has nothing to do with you, it actually shows how much you are not confident about your own self, right? It kind of exposes you in a negative way, which you don't want. So, what I did, and my advice here is when you introduce yourself in an interview, say it in such a nonchalant manner like, yeah, this is my years of experience due to structural changes, reorganization within our company. Our business unit was let go, and now I'm looking to get my next whatever, right? So you can take a very high level bird's eye view approach by saying, don't say I got laid off, just say, because of the company's changing goals, restructure, reorgs, whatever that may be, because of those things, our team was let go or our business unit was let go, and then continue, keep going, don't pause. So then, and sometimes the interviewer actually asked me more about it, like what exactly happened. They were curious, and I explained even more because I wasn't embarrassed about it, right? Because I had already dealt with my feelings around it, so I wasn't embarrassed anymore. I was just like, yeah, it's I was really doing great work, but it seemed like the company had changing business priorities. So I just kind of explained to them what happened. And then I shifted it back to work I was doing before I got laid off. So I pivoted the conversation to focus on the projects, the initiatives, and the success stories. And that's how you can actually pivot to it so that they kind of go back to that. So that's one way to look at it. But be very nonchalant, be very casual, right? Be very casual. Do not justify yourself. Definitely do not say things like, this didn't just happen to me, happened to many people, and or had nothing to do with me. Don't say those phrases because that actually makes the other person feel the exact opposite way. Like like you're insecure about something. And no, I don't think in that context your insecurity should be exposed in that way. I think you need to come across as a person who's confident and who is objective, who's strategic, and who knows what they bring to the table, right? So good luck with your job search. And if there's anything I can help you with, please drop it in the comments. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.